From there, then we extract the rule, right? Turn each lesson into a rule, not a resolution. So when I feel the urge to explain myself, I'm already off track. Delaying hard conversations always costs me more later. Again, I'll learn that one of these days. If I don't schedule recovery, burnout will schedule itself. Poof. I mean, that's kind of, going into the man thing of past episodes. Like, there's this rest is not weakness. And again, that's a lesson that is popping itself up in my life more and more lately. If I wouldn't accept a behavior twice, why should I accept it once? That right there is gold. I mean, if that doesn't get you to act on keeping a standard, shoot, I don't know what will. Because rules outlive motivation. Welcome to DFW Grit. I'm Dr. James Taylor, and I'm your host, and this is more than just a podcast. We dive into the stories of the movers, the shakers, the small business owners, the entrepreneurs, right here in the DFW Metroplex. This is your home for authentic, real stories that prove what happens when you don't back down. Let's get to work. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of DFW Grit. As always, I'm your host, Dr. James Taylor. So today I sat down and I'm like, man, it's the end of the year. It's Christmas time. It's New Year's, all that jazz. I should know I knew show tunes, did you? But no, I didn't want to do the cliche episode. I didn't want to do the year end in review, or the year in review, the year wrap up, the same episode everybody else is doing all over the damn place. But I still wanted to do the same episode everyone is doing all over the damn place, but like with a twist, with a new bent, with a new angle, right? So, spoiler alert, this is a let out the old, bring in the new episode, but I'm going to give you you might have done this. I'm going to give you something that I've never done. And it's certainly something I brought up, and I know it's something other people have brought up. Basically, I'm going to give you a little tip, a little trick to take into the new year with you to make 2026 better than 2025. And hopefully you can do it over and over and over again and make 27 better than 26, and so on and so forth. So one of the things, and I've certainly brought this up on past episodes, I know other people have brought this up in their cliche year in review, whatever things, but we're told to learn from our mistakes. Duh. Okay, fine. Now, from personal experience, I need to I don't need to, but I have made mistakes more than once. I've made the same mistake over and over and over again. You ever done that? Cool. Me too. Why do we do that? Because we forget the mistake, right? So like one of my things this year, I've talked about in previous years, I talked about in the past solo episode I did, I talked about cutting the bottom 10%. Now there are things that are glaring that like, I know that person needs to go. I know this habit needs to be changed. And in my retrospection, we know the things like the big things off the top of our head because we've screwed up a bunch of times doing that thing or keeping that person, or we've got many iterations of this mistake. That's why it's so available to us when we sit down to think about the things I want to sit and change, which is fine. But how do we bring that stuff to the forefront in our brain when we're sitting in a time of reflection, like the end of the year, this beginning of the new year? How do we bring this stuff to the forefront of our brain that we might not have screwed up on as much? Like it can still be a bad thing. It can still be something that you don't want to bring forward into future versions of yourself. But you haven't done it enough. You haven't felt that pain enough. You haven't screwed up enough for it to be so readily available in your thought process. So what I want to talk about today is the failure inventory. Basically, how do we learn from our mistakes faster? So let's get into it. Now, we got to remember, like, people don't actually learn from their year, whether it went right or went wrong. It's It's the stuff that they did over and over and over again that caused an emotion, that caused a feeling, and caused that feeling to grow, good, bad, or indifferent, bigger and bigger and bigger, so that it's more, like I said, readily accessible, like in our forebrain, right? So why do most people forget their mistakes? People don't forget mistakes; they avoid them. Because if you forgot the mistake, when you make it again, it would feel like a new thing. But I can't speak for you, but I know on more than one occasion, like, God, fuck, I did this again. I remember doing this before, and the outcome was just as crappy, and I did it again. So instead of, it's not like they forget them, they avoid them, because avoiding things feels like moving on. You're not addressing it. You're moving. I mean, hell, like that's how that's the family I was raised in when it came to interpersonal conflict. Well, if we just avoid it long enough, and then we wait long enough, and then we start acting normal. Oh, that felt like moving on. Turns out in hindsight it wasn't. But I digress. In reality, it pretty much just guarantees repetition, right? That's why we make the mistake again and again and again. Life will keep giving you the same test until you write down the answer. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I've said it in other ways before. Life will give you the same test until you learn the lesson. It'll keep giving you the same test until you write down the answer. Growth requires recall. That's what it comes down to. You need to recall this stuff before it happens again, right? So, why is the brain why is the brain bad at learning lessons? The brain is assigned to reduce your pain. Period. End of discussion. Well, it's designed to reduce your pain and bring you pleasure, right? Not necessarily to preserve truth. Bring you pain? No, not bring you pain. Well, it depends on the brain. Reduce pain, bring you pleasure, but not necessarily preserve truth. Once discomfort fades, so does the clarity. And as with the clarity, so goes the truth. So we need to have emotional lessons, because otherwise they'll disappear unless we capture them internally. And like I said, that's why in the past we remake these same mistakes or these same bad decisions until we learn to actually capture them, until the emotion of itself, the feeling of the thing that you did precedes the actual thing that you're doing. I mean, shit, that's what learning is. If a lesson isn't recorded, it isn't learned. The end, right? It's just felt. So the mistake isn't the problem, the pattern is. And that's why I say that's why we have to make it over and over again. So what if we can just learn the pattern sooner? Isolated mistakes don't ruin years. But when these things stack up, that's when they build up. That's what will ruin the year, right? So isolated mistakes don't ruin your years, but the patterns do. The goal isn't remembering every bad memory or every bad moment. The goal is identifying what keeps showing up. And God willing, what keeps showing up beforehand. So I've talked about one of my biggest, I just want to say crutches, but that's not the word. Whatever. One of the mistakes that I keep repeating is avoiding hard conversations. Perfect example. I'm on my 1, 2, 3. I'm on my 4th personal assistant now, because the previous one got let go. I mean, well, she put in her 2 weeks. But here's the thing, she put in her 2 weeks when I gave her more stuff to do. That's literally, I talked about my first PA was I didn't give her enough to do. And then I got better at the next one. PA's personal assistant, by the way. I got better at the next one. And then I got better on this one. And this one, I gave her more stuff to do. And then that caused her to quit. Okay, well, cool. So maybe you just weren't the one for the job. But also, too, when we go back, find out, damn, she didn't do anything. No, I shouldn't say anything, but she did so very little, because now that I got the new one, I'm having to go back and find out on all the stuff that she didn't do, that she didn't accomplish. Another example is waiting too long to act. We had talked in the past about, my previous associates. I had the one that he was around too long. And then the next one, he left was asked, we parted ways. We parted ways in 2 months as opposed to 6. Because I learned that lesson. I started to notice those patterns sooner. Another example, saying yes out of guilt. In previous episodes, I've talked about almost we'll say again, I just want to say crutch. The dangers of being too nice, the dangers of saying yes over and over and over again. Ignoring early warning signs, overcoming what? Overcommitting. There it is. Overcommitting during good weeks, right? So that's a pattern too. So everything's going well. Let's pile more on. No, let's just keep doing the thing well that we're doing well. But in the opposite side of that, letting small issues compound. Just because it's a small issue does not mean it's not an issue. So if the same pain keeps showing up in different outfits, it's not random. This is the pattern. These are the patterns that we got to find. So what I want to introduce to you is what's called the failure inventory. Now, this is practical. It's simple, it's repeatable, and it's not journaling, it's not fluff. Not that journaling is a bad thing. I like journaling. And actually, speaking of that, I put something in one of the dads groups the other day. I want to share it with you too. Click on the link in our bio, and I put together a custom GPT for you because in my mind, journaling has a certain stereotype with it, right? It gets you in touch with your feelings. It's kind of fluffy. I mean, hell, for some of the guys watching, it might even be girly. Girls journal. Guys don't journal. No, guys should absolutely journal. So what I did, click the link in the bio. I made a custom GPT for you, and I want to share it with you. Totally free. Don't worry about it. There's no subscription. You don't got to enter your email or nothing. Just click it and take it. And it is a journaling prompt. Now, I will tell you this. It was written by me for me that I'm giving to you. So it comes with a masculine bent. It comes with a hard-nosed kind of coaching bent sort of thing. So if that's not your style, totally fine. Yeah, it might not jive with you. But if you know you should journal, or at least you think you should journal, but you don't know how to do it because you don't know how to dig in and get these things out, this will help pull it out of you. So my gift to you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. But back to the failure inventory. Simple, repeatable system. It's not journaling fluff. It's 30 minutes, roughly. And you only need to do it once a year. You can certainly revisit it. I'm not saying do it once and forget about it, because obviously this whole episode is about not forgetting things, right? So just do it once a year. Step one, identify the hits. Just you gotta be called onto the carpet here. So what cost me the most energy this year? What drained my peace? What did I regret not addressing sooner? Where did I knowingly violate my own standards? Take 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10, and just kind of just sit and ponder these questions and write down the answers. Okay, you got to write this stuff down. So, what cost me the most energy? What drained my peace? What did I regret not addressing sooner? Where did I knowingly violate my own standards? Doesn't have to be everything. It doesn't have to be all encompassing, but just put down some stuff, just the ones that mattered. Then, after you got something on the paper, name the pattern, right? For each moment, answer the question, what behavior of mine allowed this to happen? So then we're taking ownership of it in ourselves. What behavior of mine allowed this to happen? Not what caused it, not what they did, because I got the answers for what they did on all these questions immediately. Not what should have been different, only what I did or did not avoid. This is how you own it without any sort of attack on yourself or attack on the person who couldn't follow directions. So from there, then we extract the rule, right? Turn each lesson into a rule, not a resolution. So when I feel the urge to explain myself, I'm already off track. Delaying hard conversations always costs me more later. Again, I'll learn that one of these days. If I don't schedule recovery, burnout will schedule itself. Poof. I mean, that's kind of, going into the man thing of past episodes. Like, there's this rest is not weakness. And again, that's a lesson that is popping itself up in my life more and more lately. If I wouldn't accept a behavior twice, why should I accept it once? That right there is gold. I mean, if that doesn't get you to act, on keeping a standard. Shoot, I don't know what will, because rules outlive motivation. Like I said, you only have to do this once a year, but you should absolutely review it. So, how to keep these lessons alive without living in the past? Because this is an important distinction. Remembering does not mean ruminating. That's totally fine. You don't have to ruminate on it. You can remember it, but it doesn't have to sit and all envelop you. Recording does not mean reliving. All these things are doing, all these answers are doing for you is bringing them to the surface sooner, bringing them to the surface, to the forefront of your brain, so you are aware of them, so you can be so you can be aware of them sooner, so you don't have to be reminded of them by repeating them again poorly. So how do we keep these lessons and rules active? Just it's a one-page rule list. You're writing down your code, if you will. You're writing down your standards. Like I said, review it a couple times a year. You don't have to redo it. And then use these rules as filters, not guilt weapons. And I say this again more, this is something for you to be said to yourself in the mirror. It's not a way for you to relive all the hurt and the feelings that these mistakes, we'll call them, caused. This is just a way for you to be aware about them. The key thing in all this, you don't remember mistakes to punish yourself. You remember them to protect your future. And when you look at it like that, I mean, again, just personally, that's a lot easier to take. That doesn't feel like I'm bullying myself. It doesn't feel like I'm demeaning myself or coming down on myself. So it is the holiday time. It is supposed to be a joyous time of year, but it's also supposed to be a time of reflection. And this is a good time to do it because Christmas creates space. And there's this is a weird way to put it. There's this wonderful dead space in the week ahead. That no man's land between Christmas and New Year's. And then even the couple of day buffer you get after New Year's, because this year it falls on Thursday. You got Friday, Saturday, Sunday after that. And then that Monday, New Year, New Me starts. So when you go into this New Year, New You, go into it already aware of the patterns, already aware of the processes that you don't want to bring into the new year. Growth isn't about becoming someone new. It's about stopping the behaviors that keep resetting you to zero. Man, when you look at it like that, like, hey, if I don't have to reset this year. I don't have to start over this year. That makes it a lot easier. I'm aware of the patterns that lead to hardships. I'm aware of the patterns now that lead to disdain and dismay and just these feelings of ill will, either towards people or towards myself. Sweet, I've already got that up here in the forefront now. I know what those roadblocks look like before I get to the roadblocks. So, like I said, I hope this wasn't cliche. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned here more today by accident than you have elsewhere by design, maybe in the entirety of 2025. But as always, please like, share, follow. There are wonderful, amazing, fantastic things to come. Not just in this podcast, because that's where I was going in my brain before those words left my mouth, but in your 2026 also. All you got to do is recognize some of these patterns a little sooner so you don't repeat the processes and repeat the feelings of shame and guilt that come with them into 2026. You guys have a wonderful rest of 2025. And I pray and I hope that your 2026 is absolutely fantastic. But you got to put in the work to do it first. Can't just sit there and hope and wish and cross your fingers. You guys have a great rest of your day. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Chris Makana Kwanzaa, all that jazz. And all that jazz. The book ended the episode nicely. I'll see you guys later.